Hi everyone, this is DBaird. Welcome to my green makeover project. My agenda today will first of all be the client profile, followed by the three major areas of energy reduction, water conservation, and materials and indoor air quality. Following that, I'll touch on sourcing principles, budget, the recap and conclusions, and the sourcing. So first of all, an overview of the space. My client is Adrian and Adam Haslett Davis. Both of these people were injured during the bombing of the Boston Marathon in April 2013. And my project was the Wounded Warrior project to make their home completely accessible for them. So the task here is to reimagine the Haslett Davis house using principles of sustainable design. And I also want to maintain my original concept of regeneration. The first focus area that we're going to take a look at is that of energy, with the objective being to reduce the demand for externally sourced electricity for the home. The strategies that I'm going to undertake to do this are firstly to install solar panels. I'm going to weatherproof or replace windows and doors to conserve energy. I'm going to replace the insulation in the ceiling, service the HVAC units, replace the kitchen and laundry appliances, and also replace all of the bulbs in the house with dimmable LEDs. My evidence here is that residential energy consumption increased 17% between 1970 and 1985. If you look at the chart on the right-hand side at the top, and it has increased a further 33% since then. So energy use certainly increasing quite quickly, and any strategies that we can employ to reduce that use will be good for the environment. The chart at the bottom on the right-hand side shows how electricity is consumed in the home, and you can see that heating and cooling, water heating, and lighting are the biggest users. So the first strategy is that of solar power, the objective being to use the renewable resource of solar power to generate electricity for the home. The tactics here are to install solar photovoltaic cells to the roof of the house, and there's a few things that we need to do before we do that, including analysing the existing use of electricity, check all the local codes, decide if you want the home to be on or off the grid, and also determine a few technology options. Now, some evidence here for the use of solar panels is 86% of US primary energy consumption is from fossil fuels, which we know is non-renewable, and 32% of fossil fuel production is now used to generate electricity in the US. And we know that the burning of coal to generate electricity is a major contributor to greenhouse gases. Solar sources of energy are number one in terms of the annual potential of renewable resources, and the energy.gov site tells us that solar energy is sustainable, renewable, and plentiful, and the costs are coming down every year. One challenge that we do have is that this home is in Portland, Oregon, which does have a lot of cloudy, rainy days. So we probably will need either a backup system for electricity, and certainly we will need good insulation. Strategy is that of windows, doors, insulation, and HVAC. Our objective here is to conserve energy in the home and prevent unwanted weather elements from entering the home. So we're going to weatherproof or replace the windows and doors, install some eco-friendly insulation like wool or cotton, and we're going to service the HVAC units and replace the filters and install some smart thermostats. So we know that up to 20% of heating and cooling costs can be saved by properly insulating and sealing a residential building. Windows should have a low emittance coating to reduce heat transference, and we also should choose windows with a low U factor or rate of heat loss to prevent heat from escaping in the winter and from heat infiltrating in the summer. Choosing high R value materials in insulation will result in the greatest resistance of heat flow, and we know that heating and cooling the home consumes 35 to 45% of the energy use. So a smart thermostat sets your HVAC units for optimal performance. Appliances and lighting, with the objective here being to conserve energy via lighting and appliances in the home. We're going to replace the kitchen and laundry appliances with Energy Star rated appliances, and we're going to convert all of the light bulbs over to LEDs. The evidence here is that through Energy Star in 2009, the US saved the equivalent amount of energy to avoid the greenhouse gas emissions of 30 million cars and saved 17 billion on utility bills. Energy Star certified LED bulbs and fixtures use 70 to 90% less energy than standard bulbs, and they provide the same brightness, and they last 15 times longer, and there's now a great range of shades from warm to cool. The second major focus area is that of water, and our objective here is to both reduce water consumption as well as runoff of water from the property. So our strategies will be to capture the rainwater that's falling on the roof into water tanks. We want to replace kitchen, bathroom and laundry appliances and faucets with low flow or water efficient models. We're going to install some drip irrigation in the garden, replace the driveway and the paved deck out the back with a water permeable concrete and pavers, and cultivate some edible plants and plants that are also local to the area. So we know that less than 1% of the Earth's water is available for human use, and it's therefore a resource that we really need to manage very carefully. The average American family is using more than 300 gallons of water a day, and roughly 70% of this is being used indoors. And we know that improved water management can make a difference. If you look at the chart on the right-hand side at the top, you can see that total water supply has reduced from 2005 to 2015. And the chart at the bottom shows in the average home just where the water is being used, with obviously toilets, showers and faucets being the main contributors. As far as tanks and drip irrigation are concerned, we want to conserve water and use less water. So we're going to install a tank at the back of the house to capture the runoff from the roof. We're going to use this water to irrigate the garden and the lawn, as well as to flush toilets and wash clothes. There's absolutely no reason why that water can't be used to do that. And we're going to install drip irrigation in the gardens to reduce water usage as well as efficiency. And we'll install some sensors as well to make sure that they're only coming on when needed. So a key strategy in planners' desire for a blue revolution is to capture more runoff water. Studies have shown that drip irrigation uses 30 to 70% less water, and technology has improved now to the point where rainwater harvesting systems can be plumbed into a home's existing pipework and can be used for those things that we had identified, like flushing toilets and washing clothes. And this can actually reduce a home's use of municipal water by 40%. As far as the appliances, the faucets and hot water are concerned, our objective is to conserve water and use less, and we also want to use less energy to heat water. So we're going to replace the kitchen, laundry and bathroom appliances and faucets with low flow models, and everything should be certified WaterSense, and we're going to replace the existing water heating tank with a solar powered model. So just a little bit of information about WaterSense. This is a partnership program with the EPA, and it's dedicated to efficient water use, and approved products carry the WaterSense label that you can see there on the right-hand side. Bathroom appliances and faucets that carry this WaterSense certification can reduce a sink's flow by 30% without sacrificing its performance. Faucet water can account for 15 to 18% of total water consumption, so it is significant. And we're also replacing the toilets as the older models had an average flush of 3.6 gallons, while the new ultra-low flush models just 1.6 gallons. So there's a potential savings there of 15,000 gallons a year for the average American family, which is very significant. We do know that a solar hot water system is more expensive to purchase, but it is 50% more efficient than gas or electric models. And again, a backup system may be required for cloudy days or for periods of high demand. There's quite a few hard surfaces around this home. There's a very large deck at the back and there's a driveway at the front. And we want to reduce the water runoff into the stormwater system by replacing the driveway with a water permeable concrete and replacing the deck with water permeable pavers. The evidence here is there's significant problems from water runoff due to impermeable surfaces around homes. That's those that don't allow water to absorb back into the water table. And some of the problems include firstly that the water is picking up pollutants as it runs into the stormwater system, and this in turn contaminates rivers, lakes and oceans, and it's a real problem for both biodiversity and human health. Sudden large quantities of runoff, for instance when it's raining very heavily, can cause flash flooding and the erosion of stream banks. We know the water table is not recharged, and the formation of puddles can be breeding grounds for insects like mosquitoes. So there's a chart on the right-hand side there that just shows you how a pervious concrete surface is laid over a subbase of gravel or crushed rock, and this kind of a structure can actually absorb rainfall of about 3 inches, which covers the vast majority of rainfall events in the US. Plants are our last strategy in terms of water conservation, and really what we're trying to do here is to increase the usefulness of water and drive the efficiency of water use. So we're going to cultivate some edible plants in the garden areas, and we're going to cultivate more local species because local species don't use as much water. They're very water efficient, and they also don't have much of a demand, or if any demand, for fertilizer and pesticides, which is a good thing. And the last tactic here is to reduce the area of turf grass with more garden beds. So the EPA recommends planting species that are appropriate or native to your region. As I mentioned, regionally appropriate and native species require very little water beyond normal rainfall. And we also know that turf grass requires the highest percentage of irrigation water. So we should consider either low water use versions of it or consider reducing the overall area. The third focus area is that of materials and indoor air quality, and there's a number of things that we can do here to reduce or eliminate concentrations of indoor air pollutants. So some of the strategies are firstly to focus on volatile organic compounds and formaldehyde. These are two very noxious gases that are concentrated indoors, and to do this we're going to replace the current vinyl floorboards throughout the home with bamboo. There will be no VOC emissions from this, and it's also a very sustainable source. And we're also going to make sure that all the stains and adhesives are no VOC and Green Seal certified. We're going to replace the rugs with jute or wool. They're currently nylon in the house, which is a very long-wearing fibre, but it's also it originates from petroleum, so it's a non-renewable resource. We're going to repaint the walls, ceilings and trim with no VOC paints, and any wallpapers would also be eco-friendly with no VOC emissions. We need to eliminate plastic and chrome furniture and surfaces, and we're going to reupholster the sofa and a couple of the armchairs to include natural latex foam wrapped in an organic wool. In addition, our window coverings will be replaced with environmentally friendly wool to improve insulation, and they're also naturally fire resistant. And we're going to renovate the kitchen to include cabinets that are made of either solid wood or zero VOC emission particle board. And the other thing we can do here is to look for some reclaimed wood options as well. We're going to install an exhaust fan vented to the outside over the gas stove in the kitchen, and install new exhaust fans in the bathrooms to improve the ventilation there. And lastly, install a living wall in the living room as decoration and also as an air quality purifier. Some of the evidence that we have about indoor air quality is that the inside of a home can actually contain higher level of pollutants than outdoor air. And since the average person spends 90% of their time indoors, homes have become, and homes have become much better sealed. They're trapping the pollutants inside. And so therefore the number of products giving off hazardous fumes has increased. The negative effects, or some of them, of poor indoor air quality on human health includes irritation of the eyes, nose and throat, headaches, dizziness and fatigue. And the long-term effects can be even worse. Things like respiratory diseases, heart disease, and cancer. And in fact, the United Nations Environmental Programme has identified air pollution as the greatest worldwide environmental health hazard there is. And it's said that if the US met EPA standards for air quality, it could save $28 billion annually on healthcare costs, missed school, and things like school absences and premature deaths. So the first area is flooring and rugs. I won't repeat the objective or the tactics because we've already gone through them in quite a bit of detail. But the evidence specific to vinyl flooring is that it can release phthalates that are suspected of leaching PVC into the environment. This is very dangerous for aquatic life. Secondly, formaldehyde is a dangerous chemical. It's released by a lot of interior design materials, and the source is often the resins in pressed wood products like those that are used for subflooring and particle board. As we talked about rugs, and we mentioned earlier, nylon is made from petroleum and is therefore non-renewable. And there's also a lot of concern about the amount of energy and water that it takes to actually make nylon, and these processes can emit a lot of pollutants into the outdoor air. Bamboo flooring is actually tough to beat as a sustainable material for flooring. Not only is it attractive and it's sturdy, it's harder and more moisture resistant than oak, in fact, and in its natural habitat, bamboo grows really fast, up to 3 feet per day, and it requires little water and no pesticides or fertilizer. The Carpet and Rug Institute Green Label program ensures that consumers are purchasing the lowest emitting carpet, adhesives and cushioning products. So anything we buy, we will make sure that it conforms to the Green Label Plus program. And we know that jute fiber is terrific for rugs. It's renewable, it's biodegradable, it's malleable, it's long-lasting and eco-friendly. And lastly, wool is also regarded as a great low VOC option. It's naturally fire, stain and soil resistant as well. In this section, the wall ceiling and trim, we talked about no VOC paints, and we know that coatings like paints and stains often do emit VOCs. And the EPA has identified VOCs as having both short and long-term adverse health impacts on humans. And paint is actually a top offender in the home. So Green Seal is a non-profit environmental standard development and certification organization, and it has developed standards for more than 500 different product categories, paint being one of them. So we can make sure that if a paint is Green Seal certified, it's going to be no VOC. Furniture and window coverings, There's a lot we can do here, and we talked about the tactics up front about reupholstering some of the furnishings, using wool in our window coverings, and making sure that everything is GreenGuard certified. We know that most plastic is made from fossil fuels, and it's therefore not renewable. And plastic can off-gas contaminants like phthalates, and these are the elements that make them soft and flexible. Plastic has also been identified as an endocrine inhibitor, which is associated with a lot of health problems. We know that natural latex is a softer, more sustainable material than polyurethane for foam cushions in upholstery, and latex is harvested from rubber trees, whilst polyurethane is a plastic. Wool is a renewable, sustainable fabric for upholstery and window treatments. It's hypoallergenic, it's easily cleaned, it's naturally flame resistant, it's 100% biodegradable, and it also has balanced thermal insulation properties. It is warm in winter and it's cool in summer. And products like furniture that have achieved the GreenGuard certification are proven to meet some of the world's most rigorous third-party chemical emissions standards. As far as our kitchen cabinets and the exhaust is concerned, we're going to renovate the kitchen with either no VOC particle board or solid wood products, and we're going to install an exhaust fan over the gas cooktop and vent it to the outside, most importantly. So a major source of formaldehyde emissions is the adhesives used to produce interior pressed wood products, and it's routinely used in the construction of cabinetry. And estimates are that 85% of all wood materials have adhesives containing formaldehyde. The World Health Organization has classified formaldehyde as carcinogenic for humans, and the EPA has in fact issued certification standards for all wood products used in home construction that will meet those acceptable formaldehyde emissions. You can see on the right-hand side there a couple of the certification labels that we can ensure is on any products that we're purchasing. And lastly, a living wall. Our objective here being to improve indoor air quality and health via biophilic design. We're going to build a living wall in the living room of the home and also install other plants throughout the house as light allows. So the study here is that of biophilia, which refers to the basic desire for human beings to appreciate life forms in nature. The idea proposes that there is an instinctive and natural bond between human beings and other living organisms. And recent research has indicated the positive impact of biophilic design on human health. And some of these include reduced stress levels, lower heart rates and blood pressure, as well as improved concentration and memory, and improved circadian system functioning. So the installation of living walls or added plants can garner well and LEED credits, adding value to the home. So living walls are natural air filters, and they metabolize harmful toxins and they release oxygen. So all good. Lastly, our sourcing principles, and this is really around minimizing the home's carbon footprint. Two major strategies here: to source as many materials or contractors as locally as possible to reduce transportation costs, and wherever possible to use recycled or reclaimed materials, particularly wood. And we know that LEED offers credits for building materials or products that have been extracted, harvested, or produced within a 500-mile radius of the job. This reduces greenhouse gas emissions from transportation and supports local economies as well. And LEED emphasizes that a very effective approach to minimizing the effects on the environment is to recycle or reuse building materials, equipment, and furnishings. So this is the budget for the equipment and finishes that are being replaced in the home. It's quite a lot of detail, but if you go to the bottom of the chart, you can see that this is a very expensive exercise. All of these materials add up to a little over $187,000. and my budget for this project was $150,000. So I'm $37,000 over the budget at this point. My recap and conclusions. The major focus areas to make a home more sustainable are energy, water, and indoor air quality. Now, there are 3 timeframes to undertake the strategies and tactics outlined, and this can actually drastically reduce the costs of doing this. Firstly, it makes a lot of sense to take the big items like windows, doors, and insulation and actually just get it right when the house is being built. Secondly, we can replace existing items, but only as they wear out or fail. For instance, the appliances, the HVAC, and the light bulbs. And thirdly, we can undertake new initiatives to add value to the home, such as the kitchen renovation, the solar panels, and the water tank and the irrigation. As I mentioned, the cost is currently $37,000 over the budget. So my decision is actually to prioritize the water conservation and the indoor air quality and remove some new pivot doors that I was intending to install. They're very expensive. They're about $5,000 each, and the total cost there was about $35,000. So I can get back very close to budget by removing that single item. So there are many ways to make an existing home more environmentally sustainable, as well as to improve human health. And as designers, we really do need to be considering all of the aspects presented here within our plans. So thank you very much for your attention. The last 3 slides are the sources, which we don't need to go into at this point.